I know it's been a while, more than a month, and it's not often that I go this long between videos unless I have a good reason to take a break. Well, I actually haven't taken a break. My life has been incredibly full and busy with good and not so good events. So, if you're interested in my personal ups and downs, as well as listening to me catch up on a few industry and creative developments, please join me for this chat. Hi, Ray here with a July update. Let's start with some industry news. Not exactly breaking, I've been too busy to jump on it, but now's my chance to comment. The much talked about Nikon Z8 firmware update. 3.0 arrived after a bit of a delay, but Nikon released it at the start of this month, and we now have the latest additions to what is already a fantastic camera. It's old news now, I realize, and there's quite a bit to unpack, which has been on many other channels. Lots of people have covered it. So I won't go into detail, other than to say that I welcome pixel shift for sure. We can combine pixel shift as well with focus shift or AE bracketing. Excellent. Focus limiter. Now that's a real innovation. Well, is there another camera with that? I think Panasonic Lumix has already been there, but nice to have it here. It's something that we only had via specific lenses that had a limiter switch, but now we can apply it to any Z lens that we own. Though there are some exceptions, I think, with third-party lenses at the moment. View Assist for N-Log gets a new look, and I welcome that because it was pretty much unusable before, and the only way to judge properly was by using an external monitor. Now that's not a bad thing, but for run and gun, it's great to have a reliable exposure representation without having to use an external monitor. I understand that there were some issues with third-party lenses, none that affected me with 3.0, but I just updated to 3.01 anyway. That came a week or so later. Speaking of third-party lenses, there have been what look like some excellent Z-mount lens releases lately, third-party, as I said, both photo and video-centric. But I want to move on to the stuff that's been the focus of my time and my shrinking budget. Seriously, I just blew my budget on something more important, to me at least, which I'll get to in just a minute. So, I had a bit of a setback in May. I had to stay in another room with a view, which I guess gave me yet another perspective, as if I needed one, and it rearranged my priorities again. So that has a lot to do with why I haven't been seen around these here parts. For those who don't know, I had a real date with fate last October, Halloween, and that's why I talk like this. They tried to shut me up, but for now, I've been trying to continue what I love doing here. So, priorities. I started this channel, well, I uploaded a video on conservation, matting, and framing over 9 years ago, and that's the first video that really did anything, relatively speaking. I think now it's gotten about 59,000 views since I uploaded it, and that's not bad, I think, for a little channel with under 10,000 subscribers. If you haven't subscribed, please do. Since then, I've talked about prints and printing, something that few people do today, but I'll repeat that in my view, if you're not printing, you're not completing the photographic process. Holding and then hanging a print on the wall is, to my mind, the high point of photography. I'm not saying there aren't other ways to present photographs, and I'll get to another way in a minute. But printing and learning how to print yourself is just a really satisfying experience, I think. Almost better than using your camera to make the image in the first place, because it's latent, sitting on your phone or your hard drive, until it's made real. And real, to me, is if it can be touched. Though, wear cotton gloves, especially if it's printed on, say, a $10 sheet of cotton rag paper. So, I just bought a new printer, a Canon imagePROGRAF 1100. Never owned a Canon Pro photo printer before. I've been an Epson guy. From the first 13-inch printer that I bought in 2003, the 2200. That's when I began to take inkjet printing as a serious alternative to wet printing. So, in relation to the October surprise and my almost 3-week stay in hospital, to cut a long story short, that led to a few complications. I don't mean health-wise, but business suffered as well. First, I had to close down my shop. Luckily, a couple of potential customers were patient because, due to the long time without use, the micro piezo print head on my 10-year-old Epson Stylus Pro 4900 clogged irreparably. Yes, Epson heads, the older ones anyway, were prone to clogging. And I finally got around to recycling the 22-year-old Epson 2200 as well. Man, it hurt to see them dumped at the recycling depot on the way to pick up the new Canon printer. And my back is still hurting from the swap, especially moving the Epson unit, which weighed, 115 pounds? Thank God the guy at the recycling depot had a strong back. The Canon is more manageable at 75 pounds, but still not a lightweight. There's certainly more room on my printer stand, which was custom made for the Epson 4900. And while I was at it, I finally installed casters. That's something I'd been meaning to do for years. But once that giant 4900 was on top of it. Anyway, I didn't use the real paper feed on the 4900, but the casters will come in handy to use the rear feed on this Canon unit, and the maintenance cartridge, that's back there too. The cover, which was also made custom by my late mother, bless her, that had also been taken in a bit. Like my pants. Now, I'm not going to do a deep dive into the PROGRAF 1100, at least not right now. There's plenty of technical reviews out there. But let me know if you're interested, because I could talk about my particular personal experience of making the brand switch. One thing that I'll say right now is that the complications that I ran into at the beginning were really learning the new software that had new functions that just weren't around a decade ago. And those actually simplify things, like for instance adding paper profiles, etc. Profiles can actually be imported into this printer itself, so it can do a lot of the calculations for printing on whatever paper, surface thickness, and whatnot. The next best way to present photographs, kind of the best bang for your buck, is with books. Did I get those two words out intelligibly? I hope so. I've spent the last few weeks working on a book project. One I put on the back burner 5 years ago now, around the time that I got into YouTube seriously. But it's very much on the front burner now. I've been putting in sometimes 12 or more hours a day, often until the wee hours. The photographs, of course, have been around for 4 decades and more. I've mentioned the 80s Vancouver portfolio before. It gets the most traffic on my website, generates the most sales, and I hope that it'll do the same in book form. It's the writing that's taking the big effort. I've been writing blurbs that are a mix of history, technical info, and memoir. Sort of the same thing that I do here. For this book, there'll also be a deluxe expanded edition, that's the plan, and these are in the final stages of production. One more proof and it'll be ready for sale. Print on demand is what I've decided on. But anyway, a while back I promised myself and customers of my prints that I try to make my most popular work, and this vintage stuff is, as I said, the most popular, to make it available in more ways. So it was past time to actually move forward on that promise. Well, so that's what I've been up to, folks. Let me know in the comments how your year is going in photography and anything else that you want to talk about. I'd love to hear from you. So, please do like this video if you did like it, and if this is your first time here, please do consider subscribing. Hit that notification bell so that you don't miss more content from me. In the meantime, take care, cheers. We'll see you later.